Baltimore still favored, not only by a point. Here's Micah on how the Cowboys are trying to avoid 3 straight home losses. Take a listen.
To have back-to-back embarrassing losses at home, like, man, I get the fan frustration, but I don't think there's anyone more frustrated than me. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm a competitor. At the end of the day, like, I feel like I'm a warrior. Like, I battle like everyone else battle, but at the end of the day, like, it's all about wanting it more. And to me, not having everyone want it as bad as you do, that kind of hurts the most, you know? I think I'll find it tougher if, people don't step up. I think that's the tougher to, like, damn, like, this is the mentality, this is the movement of this team. So to me, it's like a prove it weekend.
All right, Coach, the question that we agreed on was what can Dallas prove with a win, but I'm going to freestyle it because I thought this was like a Mike Zimmer's still the new DC, this kind of Shanahan offense, kind of throw a wrinkle in it. We weren't ready for it. But Mike is talking about effort. He's talking about people wanting it more. Did that set off an alarm bell in your mind?
Yeah, it's problematic if you're talking about people having poor effort in your home opener. Like first of all, it's hard to believe that that's the case. And as you go through this, what we're going to find out about the Cowboys this week is, are they resilient? That's the first thing. Can they bounce back from what happened last week? Second thing is, can they fix the problems? Do they have the answers within the system to fix the problems? But there are answers, but can they do it quickly enough so that they can respond this week? And how well do those guys respond to it? And then it's how well do they respond to the coaching that they get? Are they responding to Mike Zimmer and the things he's trying to achieve defensively? Or do we start hearing, well, last year we used to do it this way, or the old system was this way? Because that's very common after if things go bad for a couple weeks in a row. It's like, well, since we changed this is problematic. But the idea that anybody's questioning another player's effort the second week of the season it shouldn't happen. And I don't know if that's a fair assessment by Micah on the other players in terms of saying it was their effort that was the issue.
No, that's what I'm questioning, Coach. Like, if he says that in the locker room behind closed doors, I'm fine with it. But if he says that in the public, now I think it becomes a huge statement. And you mentioned earlier, we saw last year where players responded to some things he said on podcasts. So I just think he should have said it to his players, to his teammates, and not.
And it's another example of, it's not me.
Right. Because he's not as good against the better teams.
No, yeah, he didn't do anything in the playoff game.
Right.
I mean, look at his stats there. But then this happens like, hey, I'm a competitor. Must be those guys.
And I'm not trying to be contrarian here.
Yeah.
There's a genuine question. If Micah is the leader of the Dallas Cowboys, certainly the leader of the defense, I do feel like there have been times, and I'm not even playing devil's advocate here, I'm trying to have the discussion, like that we have seen quarterbacks publicly, not say Kevin Wildes did things wrong, but publicly call out you know what I mean? We have guys that are not, in the spots they need to be in, or you know what I mean? And basically say, we need to clean stuff up and put the pressure on guys from the podium publicly, some of the best quarterbacks ever. In fact, last year I remember it got so bad with the Chiefs wide receivers, people were angry Mahomes wasn't doing that. You know what I mean? That Brady would go out and call out guys. So can it be constructive is my question. If everyone in the locker room agrees this kid is the leader of our defense, can there be a positive to him saying publicly, guys were loafing essentially and guys weren't working hard?
I think if you're Tom Brady or you're Patrick Mahomes and you've achieved that level of success, it's a different equation. And I would bet that at the start of that statement that Tom Brady made where he may call out the receivers or that Patrick Mahomes makes, he takes personal accountability first. I need to fix the following things. I need to do this better. I need to improve this way. And then he can say, and these are some other things we're going to address. But usually that's also after they've had discussions with the coaching staff, they've had discussing with the players in the locker room, and they've tried to address it, and it's gotten to a point where maybe it needs a little bit more of a push. Not typically in the second week of the season where you're saying, hey, I'm good, but these guys.
And remember, Aaron Rodgers used to rub some receivers the wrong way by kind of putting the blame on them publicly.
Go ahead, Will. Sorry.
No, I don't know. I don't know. The conversation went all over the place. I'm happy with it. The
Okay.
question is, what do we want to prove? Do we feel like?
Well, if we have time for that, I mean, with all that said, and I don't know if you agree with me, Brew, if the Cowboys win this week, I will look at, as you put it earlier, the Saints game as a hiccup. Like, you know what I mean? It got downhill on us quickly. For whatever reason, the Saints were scoring 50-yard touchdowns seemingly at will. And I will look at the Cowboys as clearly the cream of their division and the favorites in the NFC East. And I will look at, I don't think there is a realistic way for the Cowboys to win this game without CeeDee Lamb having another really big game. He was one of the few bright spots in that Saints game. And Dak and CeeDee, that quarterback-wide receiver connection, we're now going on a 20-some game stretch of it being the best quarterback-wide receiver tandem in football. Like, Purdy and Ayuk last year was pretty damn good. They've had a slow start. Burrow was hurt last year. He and Chase aren't on the same page. Justin Jefferson's, changed quarterbacks over the years. Like, I don't even know who else is really in contention. A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts, he's now hurt, and he didn't have his monster of a year. And so, to me, that's what they could prove. They're the class of the division, and that they might have the most dangerous quarterback, one-to-one quarterback wide receiver.
Yeah, I do think that game last week would be, it was still disturbing, but you would overlook it and say, you know what, that was their Arizona game last year. When Arizona beat them with Josh Dobbs by 2 touchdowns. And then obviously they bounced back and had a 12-win season. So I think if they beat Baltimore, when Baltimore is absolutely desperate and Lamar is great against the NFC, 20-3, that would be impressive. And I think, Coach, if they get this win, I think it's the biggest regular season win in Mike McCarthy's time in Dallas. Because if you go back, like last year, a couple years ago, they beat Cincinnati, but it was week 2. The Bengals struggled early in the season. We know they beat Philly last year at the end of the season, big game, but Gardner Minshew played because Jalen Hurts was out. So I think this would be their biggest win. And this is the type of win that could propel them, because, yes, you said it earlier, they've beaten some good teams, Detroit and things like that, but they've had some terrible showings against some of the good teams, who like San Francisco last year. So if you pummel a team that we still think is one of the top teams in the league, then that would be, say, a lot. And I think it would say they're going to be that same 12-ish win team that we've seen the last 3 years. They'll be there for the playoffs, and let's see what they do.
Yeah, I'm just really curious to see how they respond defensively and what looks different, because it is hard with a new coordinator, a new language, a different philosophy. When you get hit with a problem and exposed early, to get that fixed as quickly as you want to. So to see how quickly they can resolve that's going to go a long way to how well this defense continues to progress.
Just quickly, are the Ravens just going to try to run what the Saints ran, or they're like, all right, they probably plugged this hole and let's run some sort of counter to what the Saints did?
Well, they have a different package with Lamar. They can pressure him in a different way. And it's been a long time since Mike Zimmer's had to set up a defense, and I don't know how many times he's had to against a guy like Lamar. He's been a head coach, but it's different when you're a defensive coordinator and trying to stop that, especially if you've been away from that role for quite a while. But you're then going to look at also the things that really hurt them and say, okay, do they have those problems fixed? You definitely always are checking, did they fix the problems, especially the bad problems that they showed the week before and the week before that.
Ooh, okay. On the other side of the ball, the winless Ravens, a loss would put them in a hole that few teams have dug out of. Here's the stat: only 6 0-3 teams have made the playoffs since Broussard was 1 year old.
Why didn't you say the Super Bowl?
It wasn't that long.
It's from 1960.
Crowds love the show. Excited to watch America's Game of the Week on Fox when Baltimore goes into Dallas. That game on at 1 or 4. Thanks, Ryan and Brian. Well, thanks for asking, Ryan and Brian. That game is on at 4 o'clock. Eagles Saints is on at 1 on Fox, and at 4 o'clock, of course, it's Ravens at Cowboys. Now time for the Bud List.
You just gonna act like there was nothing on there? I thought you disbanded with it.
But then you got mad at it.
Well, the other one is the real one, where I posed for 30 minutes for that one. You never used.
Ramsey, we got to put muscular blue on it.
Yes, thank you. All right, at number 3, Nick, sorry, Trevor
It's fair.
Trevor Lawrence, and I'm not going to patronize you, Trevor, with this nickname, the Prince,
It's not patronizing.
and Bugles, because I'm not going to give you all the pomp and circumstance that you and I know you don't deserve, all right? I'm trying to help you, Trevor. This is about motivation.
True.
You should be cooking now. This is year 4. This is year 4. All right? You should be cooking if you're a future star. But last week, 47% completion? And I'm actually giving you 0.3 of a point. All right? That's for rookies and backups. All right? Even bad rookies and backups. 47% completion. So you got to get it going. You got a nice solid running back in Travis Etienne. You got a Super Bowl winning coach in Doug Peterson. You got some quality receivers, Christian Kirk, Brian Thomas Jr., and the perennially underrated,
This guy,
particularly on this
Gabe
show,
Davis.
Gabe Davis.
I mean-
That's right. Your defense is only giving up 9